Facebook's on. YouTube seems to be on. All right. Second show of the day. Got a new friend, beloved sister, stepping up like so many of you are, stepping up to be seen and to share her experience, her story, her abilities. So it should be a very good show for the next hour. I highly recommend you stick around. Going to put on our little intro and let people have time to come in, and then we will be right back. How's it going, everybody? Got a new friend in the house, Kristin Vambeset from Norway. So we're going to get to know her, just as we always do, in front of everybody. And she's been courageous enough to step up and come out. And so many of the Divine Feminine are doing around the world. And we're honored to be able to support that situation, as we need more of that. So let's get her up here without further ado. Here we go. You're muted. You're muted. There you go.
There. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. How are you doing?
Hi, Todd.
How are you?
Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, and thank you for the beautiful message. It started this whole thing off. It's good to see you. Good to meet you. You're in what? Are you in Oslo?
Yes, I'm in Oslo.
Yeah, we've always had a strong following or community in Norway.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, for some reason or another. Yeah.
So you'll be coming to Europe and visiting Norway one day then?
I hope so. Yep. I hope so. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know I will in time. I know. I think there's going to be a lot of traveling for a lot of us. You know, yes, as the veils continue to dissolve and all the structures of the matrix crumble, which is happening more and more because people are stepping up, like you're stepping up, and you know, and they're coming out now. It's no, we don't have to be afraid anymore. This isn't the Middle Ages anymore. Yeah,
there is still this little human part who's, you know,
of course, yeah, absolutely,
freaking out, but it's like this invisible hand in the back, just pushing forward, like, now go.
Isn't that crazy? Go. I mean, if I had to count how many women have told me that this year, I bet you the number would be 20 or 25. Have told me those exact same thing. I feel like there's these hands pushing me to get out there. And a lot of them that I asked to come on, they'll tell me that they don't want to, but they know they have to. So it's like, they'll say, because I have these hands pushing me one way or the other, right?
Yes. You know, when I got your message, when you invited me on, I don't open my phone or turn on my phone in the morning, because I have my white breakfast and I do a meditation or some breath work or something before I start kind of connecting. And then I heard my guys and I said, turn on your phone. And I said, no, I'm not doing that. I'm going to meditate first and you do my thing.
Is that right?
And they were like, turn on your phone. And I turned on my phone and it was like, and my higher self were like, jumping up and down, like super excited. And my little human was like, oh my God.
Right. And there's the twist. I mean, it continues to be the merging of the higher self and the human aspects. It
yes,
really does.
exactly.
Yeah.
Those exact words have I gotten in so many channelings this summer.
Yeah.
Both the masculine and feminine within, and the human aspect and the higher self merging.
Yeah. Yeah. I shared a very long comment that somebody had made, a YouTube subscriber had made. I shared it on a show the other day, but I actually posted the text on my Facebook page today. And she has a lot to say in there. It's very, very, it's probably, it might be the best thing I've ever read. And maybe because it's real time, it's real time. But one of the things, or the gist of what she's saying, is you can kind of like, take it easy, like relax, like let go, surrender, because it's all done now. Let the higher self take over. Let the higher self bring you the rewards of living, because living is what it is. That's all it is. Being alive, living, and here we are, embodying and anchoring in the higher self and all the multidimensional aspects, the memories, and applying them now to this. And I think we're all going to be shocked in a good way as to what is actually happening, or going to happen, or it is happening. But it's interesting. It's getting really interesting. So what's your, you just made mention that you have a routine in the morning, which tells me that you've been plugged in for a while. Plus I can just tell from what you've written to me, but did you have a traditional light worker experience where you were young and you had certain abilities, and then you got older and they got shut down, and you went to the matrix, got married, got a job? Some traumas happened around 2012, give or take a year or two. And you were found in universal isolation, where you had to face yourself, and all your abilities came back, and here we are. Was it something like that?
Where do I sign? Exactly. Yes. Yes. I remember from I was like a small child that I could see things, and for me it has always been very, very physical. So I could see what people refer to as ghosts. I could see them physically, like as clear as I see human, like normal humans.
And this was as a kid, right?
Yes.
Wow.
And I remember like things like we were at the cabin by the sea, and the cabin is up in the forest by the sea, and it's just like a few cabins around, so there's no place where we will find like salesmen and that kind of things. And I had gone to bed, and I could see through my window, I could see the entrance door, and I was asking my mother the day after, like, who was that salesman, with the suit and with the tie and everything, that were coming just after I went to bed. And she was like, there was no one here yesterday. And suddenly not with a suit in the middle of the forest. And I was like, yeah, but I saw him, because I didn't understand that he was not human, like alive.
Did you did that come back? Has that come back since you've been reawakened, or however you want to call it? Has it come back? You're able to see that?
It was to an extreme for a couple of years, and I was resisting and resisting and resisting.
Yeah.
And then it has become, after I started to, first of all, accept who I am and own it, and all of that process, it has become less kind of confronting and physical, but I still see things physically. But now it's mostly I can see through those that are not really here. But I have three of my guides have been in front of me physically.
Okay. So you can see through, like they're translucent, like you can see through them. So they're not physical. Well, okay.
And sometimes I just see them with my third eye now, which is more comfortable, I will say.
Yeah. Well, it's like, and I was wondering because I've noticed this, and especially the last few weeks, um, even like yesterday and even today when I went outside after the first show, I saw two, because where I live behind the house, at the back of the house, it's like a forest. It's like almost like a jungle. It's because it goes down, it's a riverbed.
Oh, how
Uh,
beautiful.
yeah, and it's very thick, and I've already seen some elementals there. And of course, my mind is going, did you really see that? But I swear I saw an elf the other day. I've seen a lot of fairies from the first day I got here. But today I went out and I saw something. I saw it twice in two different spots, something I'd never seen before. And it is drizzling a little bit here. It's a little bit rainy and it's a little bit overcast, and it's morning. But anyway, as I looked out there, I saw this silver shimmering thing that looked physical, but at the same time, it looked dimensional, looked non-physical. And I thought, oh, well, maybe I'm just seeing things. And I look over here and I saw it again. It
Wow.
almost looked like a reflection, like when you look in like a pool of water.
Yes.
And you see a reflection of whatever's, but it had this very distinct silver white, kind of silver white bluish light to it. It looked like light is what it looked like, but it looked physical. And then of course, as quick as I saw it, it disappeared. But I got to believe that these, the more people talk about it, because I think the only thing holding it all back is the doubt. We're doubting, did I see that? Am I crazy? What are people going to think? But the more we talk about it like this, like your experience, I think the more it's going to come into our conscious, experience.
Exactly. That was what helped me a lot when I was kind of forced to face myself when everything in my life collapsed in 2012.
Oh yeah, that was a great year, wasn't it? I like to get a bottle of wine from 2012 and just preserve it like a time capsule.
Exactly. Yeah. No, but that's what was I saying? What was the last thing you said? I lost my train of thought.
Oh, we were just talking about how talking about it, makes it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because then I understood that a huge part of it was to actually get some understanding and control over everything that was happening, because it was extremely physical for me. Like I could faint when I came to place, like passing a place where something had happened, like something intense in the past, and I could be fainting, and I was in and out of hospitals, and a lot of it was energetic stuff.
Yeah.
But then reading books of people that had been through all of this and had experiences like I had, and it was so like I was reading books and reading books and reading books, like I'm not the only one. Like I'm not weird or.
And I think that's what it is. I think that I mean I get messages every day, every single day. I'll get a message, somebody saying, thank God I found Sology. I thought I was the only one. And then the other thing I've been getting this year has been people, and many of the people that I've talked to in 2000 shows have been, have been institutionalized or put in the psych ward or put under psychiatric care throughout, you know what I mean? But what I'm starting to see, I got one the other day and the lady said, I've been on meds for, I don't know, 12 years or something like that. And I decided that, I could do this without that. So I guess what I'm saying is I think people that have been misidentified as mentally afflicted are starting to come out now too, so, balanced and I think that's going to be huge.
Yes.
It's a huge.
And the more also for those that haven't experienced it yet, that they like that would put it out there and they hear about it, when then like a friend or a family member or something comes and tells them that I've experienced this and this is weird and am I turning crazy, then even though they haven't experienced it themselves, if they have at least heard about it, it's easier to say, I heard something about it, maybe you're not crazy, and help directing them.
Yeah. Did you have the thing where the family kind of puts you out there. A lot of people, they're like, well, when I came out in 2012 or started telling people or whatever that you just kind of get, kind of blackballed, or, you're not in the family circle anymore. That's another thing that seems to be coming into alignment, is because so many people are awakening, that we're starting to be seen as something other than crazy now,
Yes. Luckily, my family has accepted it all along, because they have seen how affected I've been physically as well. So it has been like so obvious. And even though they don't always necessarily understand what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing, how I'm experiencing things, they accept it. And I share what I feel there's opening for, and I don't push like too far, but they have seen me, at least some like of the closest family have seen me, like my sisters have seen me channeling. And
oh, really? How did that go?
I think light language is really, really funny.
They think it's funny.
Yeah.
Wow. So you've done it in front of them and just did it. You just did it, right?
Yeah, they're quite a lot younger than me. They're 19 and 22.
Well, there's probably part of them that's picking up on it, and inside. I mean, on the outside, they have to say what they have to say, but on the inside, I'm sure there's something. Especially these young people they're just different. They're just not. I guess they haven't been conditioned, and maybe they came in, with their DNA cleaner or something. And then Norway and that area, that region up there, to me, even before I knew what galactic was, has always seemed to have a kind of a type of, like a galactic characteristic. Like, I don't know, it just seems to be, that area seems to be kind of progressive. Some people might call it liberal, but I would say more of like accepting, less stressful. I mean, it just seems like an environment that has, to me, has some serious or considerable, influenced by galactics. Have you had any engagements or any communion or connection with galactic or star family? Has that been part of your journey?
Yes, I met them last autumn, last September, in the forest, actually. Now I'm channeling like different energies, but one group that has been coming in very strongly the last year is a group of 8 blue beings.
Blue beings. Yeah.
Blue beings, yeah. They haven't told me what they're called yet, but they're, they all of my guys and everything that has been coming through has been like they've been giving me a bit, and what I'm focusing on, like I want to know exactly what this is. And like when I get too mental about it, like not mental, nothing crazy, but right. Trying to make logic of it, then they like turn the focus on something different, and the message. But I was in the forest and I was doing this grounding exercise, so my awareness was like deep within the earth, and I was not thinking of those like galactic things at all. And I was standing with my eyes closed, and when I opened my eyes, and I felt like super grounded, and I was like, what? There was 2 tall blue beings that I could see physically on the left side of me, and then I could see 6 more that I could see through.
Wow.
And I just felt like a magnet on my third eye, and I could see with my third eye like these waves coming like from one of them.
Waves. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I've not had too many that were that. But Morgan and I had one a couple of years ago where about 8 of them came into the room. Now they were all translucent, but you could see the humanoid. You could see the detail of their features, and the crazy thing is, for me, I don't know how you are, but like even when I woke up, my first wake up experience was at 1:11 in the morning in my backyard, and in the face of Jesus, the cosmic Christ, came in through the trees and was like staring at me, and we had a short conversation. But what I'm trying to say, whether it's something like that or the galactics coming into, or like what happened with you, every time these things happen, it's almost like, it just feels natural. I don't get like, I don't go, oh my God, I don't. And, and I don't know why that is. Does that happen to you, or do you get scared?
I used to get scared, like in the beginning, because I saw a lot of scary things that really frightened me.
Yeah.
But now I'm not afraid at all, because now I know how to handle it, and I know, like, I'm so much stronger in myself.
Yeah.
Because back at that time I was fully fatigued. I had a full collapse in my body. So I was physically very, very weak, and all these energies coming in and going through me constantly. And I had no idea how to deal with it. I just tried to run away from it, and like I didn't want to be one of those, like, those people.
Right.
I wanted to be normal. So I was, abandoning completely one part of myself, one very essential part of myself. And that also, of course, made me become more and more ill. And so
yes, good point.
Then when all of this energy came through me, I wasn't able to hold it and ground it at all, because I didn't know what it was. So I would just, like, I could faint, or I would have like seizures. And so back then I was afraid of it, because I also saw, historical things that has happened that wasn't really pleasant to see.
Yeah.
But now I don't experience those kind of things at all.
Yeah, we were talking about
very
this.
Different.
Yeah, we were talking about this on a show a couple of days ago in regard to those things that present themselves to people that are not angels and light beings. They're grotesque. They're off planet. They're, and it's interesting, because I noticed a few years ago when I first started doing this that there was a lot of talk about, these entities are coming, and how do I get rid of them, and how do I protect myself? And I don't see that as much anymore. And I'm wondering if collectively we've made enough progress that we have faced our shadows, because obviously whatever's presenting itself to us is a reflection of what's within us.
Exactly.
And we've ignored it. And I love what you said a minute ago about, you kind of like, pushed it away, and you got sicker because, and until you came to terms with that, so I wonder, I think that's a good indicator that we've made some progress, because I don't see that, that as much fear, I guess, out there. And I don't see people talking about this, you got a sage and, all that you used to see a lot of,
that comes from a victim place.
Yeah.
If you're in victim consciousness, you will need to protect yourself, but that's the energy of contraction.
Yeah.
If instead, like, the technique they have given me sometimes is to really focus on, like, the center of myself.
Yeah.
And that feeling of expansion, and expand my own energy out, so I will fill my whole field.
Yeah.
Because then I'm sovereign in my field.
Yeah.
Then I don't need to hide or protect or contract, because then I'm actually energetically inviting it in.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, I can relate to that. Yeah, I had I've had a lot of experiences like that. But I had one 2-3 nights ago. We laid down, and some things were presented to me, and then this big reptilian came. It was like facing me, like I'm facing you. It was really big too, like bigger than I'd ever seen one. It was really broad, and the eyes, and I said, like, what's this about? And it was kind of like, are you scared? And I'm like, no, I'm not, but I don't know if I want you to be here. I mean, what's going on? And so at the end, I did what I always do, which is what you said. I just opened my heart up in fearless faith, basically, knowing that anything that anything that comes in front of me is something I've put in front of me for a reason. So, as the individual goes, so goes the collective. So I know this has got to be happening in different ways. It's really the same way energetically for people all over the world. It has to be.
Yes.
Especially given the conditions of the world right now, because energetically, even on the human side of it, or the linear side of it, it looks like, oh my God, but on the energetic side, it's the biggest gift that we could ask for, right? I mean,
exactly. And I think that's very important to remember as well, that it's not because it's so like there's so much polarity and duality that we see in the world, and like how I experienced it in my journey as well, like all the shadow work and like working with all this like good girl thing, codependency, people pleasing, I nailed all of that.
Yeah, we all did, right?
Yeah. And then what I now understand that I was actually doing was that my like measurement of right and wrong and how to make choices, that was out of like that measure of polarity, like what is good, what is seen as good, how am I being perceived, being afraid of being judged, all of that. And it doesn't mean that all of that is gone. I mean, it goes in spirals.
Sure.
But I think that is also really reflecting like what's going on now as well, because people are really being asked to, instead of like diving into all the things that are happening within the chaos in the world, like really like going into all these rabbit holes and being like, this is the right thing and this is the wrong thing and this is the truth and this is not the truth, but to find their own truth and be directed within. Right. And that's what I did before. It was my measurement of my truth, what was along the like good and bad, right and wrong thing, not really feeling into my truth. And that turnaround is a huge one.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a big thing of what's going on collectively now.
It is. And I like what you said too earlier about when you were getting into the mind that the blue beings or the galactics come in and move your focus somewhere else, because that's the mechanism that's been utilized. You can call it ego or mind or whatever, brain or whatever. But I think, and the reason I say that is because to me, when they do that for you, it's almost like they're telling you, you don't need to understand this. You just leave it as it is, and let's move to the next one. Because I think ultimately, whatever it is out there that we don't agree with, or that makes us uncomfortable, or that makes us polarize and say, oh, they're evil, or that's bad. And I know from a human level, it is, but that's not the reality. And I think when it gets right down to it, we're going to be forced or flow into making peace with every bit of it in our heart, in our own space. Like no matter what it is, no matter how horrific it seems, to make peace. And that's really where the change comes collectively, is from our own.
It's the micro and the macro, the shadow work.
That's
it's
right.
The coming together.
How about shadow work? How do you feel about that? Did you do a lot? Have you done a lot of it?
Yes, I did. I think especially like during 3 years, I did a lot of shadow work.
Yeah.
I still, of course, do some of it like when I get triggered, or like when I feel I'm holding myself back, I look into what it is.
Yeah.
So it's not that I'm not doing it anymore, but it's not like my main focus.
Yeah. And that's the reason I asked that, because and I'm with you. I know that things are going to present themselves, and they do every day. The process isn't like it was a few years ago. And that's one thing I notice, is that there's another way almost. It's like you said earlier about, going to your core and expanding your field. it's like it's like clean stuff out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As opposed to going in and digging around and finding it. Not that we don't do that and don't need to do that, but there's something about doing that, expanding our field that kind of clears things or aligns things in a way that maybe wasn't very easy to attain before.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also having the ability to observe both like thoughts and patterns, reactions, because then if being in a situation when I'm triggered, for example, and I'm seeing that, okay, I'm triggered, I'm not going to react from this state. I'm going to like remove myself if I need that.
Yes.
Or I'm going to like just sit down, I'm going to feel these emotions through. If there's something I need to look more closely to, I will feel that when I'm just feeling into what it is.
Yeah.
Instead of like reacting out of that emotional state or just like with thought patterns as well. Like when I started doing my YouTube videos, which I was freaking out of, I was so afraid. It was like I was sitting like for a month and just saying, oh my God, because I kind of knew that I would have to, but I was so scared because I really like to write, so I preferred to write.
Yeah.
But I'm having quite a lot of pain in my arms, so I'm not. That's why I send voice message the most. And they have been telling me so many times for a long time that the messages need to get out. Like you're not receiving all of this channeled information just to have it recorded on your phone. Yeah. It's like people are to receive it, and like.
Now, how many videos have you made? Do you know?
I don't know. It's not too many because I started, a bit like in March, and I didn't make it, or end March, and I didn't start it or make it public until May.
Yeah. Well, you're doing it. I mean, I'm
doing it.
That's the thing too. I think anybody that's and I've seen people write about this and people comment about this on my posts and other people's stuff. And that is like, you can't underestimate the power that we have. You can't underestimate one unique and equal soul. I mean, you never know. Even if you just light up one person, you have no idea what they're going to turn around and do with that. I mean, they could affect all their family, all their friends. They could go write a book. I mean, they could do so many things. It's just like ripples, like when you throw, Yeah,
and of course, again, my fear of doing it and starting it was, of course, like the fear of being judged and of like not being. I was like the first video I made, I was so terrified, and I felt like a little schoolgirl going to have an exam or something, because I was listening to the recording on the channeling and I was going to talk about it, and I was like, how am I going to remember all of this and formulate it as well as they do? And and I was just observing it all, and I was like, holy crap, how am I thinking? Like it spirals. But when you're able to be in that observer and you see it, then it's so much easier to like don't get completely stuck in it.
Yeah. And you can. That's why I never go back and listen to anything I do. I did when I started, and I was like you. I didn't do it it was like I knew it was coming, and this was back in like 2014, and I remember I sat on the couch for 2 days in my studio. I had made a studio because they told me to make a studio in my downstairs, and I sat there for 2 days, and I was just literally, I sat on the couch the whole weekend. And I think it was on a Sunday night, I finally turned on the camera and just went for it. But I used to watch, in the early days, I used to go back and watch the videos, just to try to pick up on what did I miss or whatever, but then the mind would come in too much, like today, like my hair is all crazy today, and and I'm just like, I don't care anymore. It doesn't matter. No. It's not that. It's about it's a lot of things, but I think the intention, I think following the guidance, there's a lot in there. It's not just following the guidance. There's some type of strengthening of the connection between the human and the higher self, or the higher aspects, and also a strengthening of the obviously the embodiment and the anchoring of those energies. But there's also a strengthening of the integration and the expansion, the further expansion of the universe, by basically creating something that's never been created before.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. And also to let that energy come through.
Yeah, it's faith, it's trust.
Yes.
And do you feel like that? It's probably a dumb question, but man, is crazy. I mean, 2019 was pretty intense, but it was a different type of intensity than 2012, 13, 14, 15, and all that.
All of those other years.
Yeah, 2019 was like, but there was a lot of shadow work in 2019, or a lot of processing or whatever. In 2020, I'm not saying there hasn't been, but there seems to be something going on that is more encouraging, or there's more evidence. It just, you can see, even though all this stuff is the mask and the quarantine and all that, but you can almost see the power of the light actually, expanding. And for you and for me and for so many people, like back in 13 and 14 and 15, we would be doing stuff and putting stuff out, and we don't have any money. We know our family doesn't talk to us. So, everything's being taken from, you know what I mean? It doesn't seem like that anymore. It seems like things are being reciprocated very quickly and evenly, How do you feel about that?
Yes, the shift for me with like main focus on shadow work and it's the channeling that happened around New Year between 19 and 20.
Yeah, I agree with that. And there seems to be a cycle of, you said spirals a minute ago. So like every January or every Lionsgate, the same type of things are happening. They're just getting broader. Like I looked at my memories this morning, because every morning I share to the group, 30 or 40 posts, and I always start with the memories. And it was so strange because on August the 7th last year, I did a video with Morgan at the beach in Hawaii, because we had gotten the word. We'd lived there for 10 months. We thought we were going to stay there and live happily ever after. But on July 31st, we got a transmission in the morning that says, you got to go, sell everything and go to the mainland. So we were on the beach on August the 7th last year, about to catch a plane to LA, and we would arrive on 8/8 at Terminal 5D. Go figure that. And then if you go back 2 years, there was a video of Morgan and I. She was in Australia, and she doesn't do a lot of videos. You know what I mean? She's got the same type of feeling you have. Like, she doesn't want to be out there. She likes to write. So on August the 7th, 2 years ago, we did a video after we had gotten married and had a divine union ceremony. She had to go back to Australia. And then 3 years ago, we had done a video when she really hadn't done any. And then 4 years ago, the same thing. And I was like, wow, you can't make that up. So there's some type of similar energies are in the field on the same day every year, but they're getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm with you. There's January 1st, there was definitely a change. And to me, June 1st, for some reason, June 1st was a real big change. It felt really different for me.
Yeah. Yeah, this whole summer has been intense energetically.
Yeah, it really has.
For sure. And yes, the night until the 1st of January, I woke up at 2:30 in the night and had a channeling coming through. Normally they don't wake me up during the night.
That was on the solstice. Was that the solstice? Or no, that wouldn't be the
solstice.
It
was
January. 20.
Yeah, the night till the 1st of January.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Yeah. And then they started teaching me about they first guided me through like what I was going to do like every single day for a number of days, like a bit more than 3 weeks, of a death process, and then that rebirth process started after that, and they guided me through that as well. And then in that period, they started teaching me about fear and surrender and codependency. Not only codependency within romantic relationships, but within especially like daily routines and what we are, attached to.
Well, the whole,
and they started telling me that now these messages needs to come out and I was like, yeah, I will one day, like when.
Well, the codependent.
When I can. And then everything happened in March, and I was like, oh my God, that's why they've been teaching me all these kinds of things.
Right.
Like, oh my God.
Yeah, the codependent frequency was the equation in the old paradigm. I mean, everything we did, really, you know what I'm talking about? Because I mean, Morgan and I were shown the same thing, and earlier in the year, and I remember her specifically going through something very similar to what you just said, using a lot of the same words, all the deaths, all the pieces falling off of her. In fact, but anyway, everything we did with an expectation. And it was so subtle because they were so imprinted into us. And I feel like a lot of that's been, been transformed for all of us. Yeah.
That's a bit of the same as really understanding surrender, that surrender is not the same as giving up. But surrendering is like really relaxing into that softness and that trust.
Yes, that's
it's
right.
Much of the same.
That's
same
right.
thing.
And that's right. Yeah. And that's a great point. Yeah. Because I got a download last week and I put up a little post on it. And what I got was, and you just expanded it for me, so I'm going to explain it. But what I got was they told me, they said surrendering and giving up. Surrendering is not giving up. They are two separate things. And they said, when you surrender, the outcome, you receive abundance, the energy of abundance. When you give up, you're giving your power away. So like what you're saying makes so much sense, because the things that we did in the old paradigm, there were many times in a marriage, with a job, with family, that we would give up, we would give in. We would say, okay, I'm just going to do it, because you knew what you were giving up. And now it's different. Now this new definition of surrender, I think it's a new definition. It's what is
or about really understanding what it is.
Yeah, it's like grace and faith, and a lot of other things all mixed up in one.
Yes.
But
and also the same with empowerment, that it's not the same as power, but really stepping into our own empowerment.
Yeah.
Which is something I always feel is very important to like really make a point of when I'm talking about channeled messages as well, that it is a perspective.
Yeah.
That it's not like one guide or one counsel or one person or whatever can give like the one and only truth, but that there are so many different perspectives, and that what's important is, no matter whether going to some sort of a teacher or a friend, or listening to a channeled message from whoever it might be, or reading a book, or like whatever external source you get some information from, that it's always important to come back to finding your own resonance.
That's right.
And being directed by that, and not giving away your power to anything from a higher dimension either.
That's
because
right.
There's different perspectives there as well.
I'm drinking from the same Kool-Aid you are. I feel the same way, and I've had many conversations with whatever that is, the you, me, we, and it, right? But and I've told them I'm the one down here doing the work, and if I'm going to make a mistake, if you can make one, but I mean, then it's going to be from my own decision. It's going to be from my own faith in myself, my own trust in myself. But absolutely. And I think that's another thing that started to happen this year, when I observe in myself and the light worker community, and that is that people are finding sovereignty, not just from the external physical things that present themselves that we're all very familiar with, such as traumas that we've had in our past or whatever the case is, relationships, but we're also finding our sovereignty from those aspects that are us, you know. And I'm with you too. One of the reasons that I kind of got to that point, or got to, say, a higher level of understanding or faith in myself, was because I realized that when I heard, it depends on what part of the team I was hearing from. And I noticed that some of them were very adamant about certain things. So in other words, they had an agenda, or I wouldn't say an agenda, but I would say a specific role or talent or objective. So they would hammer it down, and and of course the mind probably does it, but it would be like, oh, I've got to stick to that. But what about this? You know, so then that's where you go back to what you're saying, that no matter what, you always go back to yourself and sit with it, and then you move forward. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they are
and
part
that's,
of us.
you know, relates to the thing with judgment and discernment as well, which is a really big one now, to understand the difference between judgment and discernment. And also within the spiritual community, there is a lot of judgment.
Oh man, it's getting crazy now, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
It is. I make it a point not to respond, and I have for a long time. You know, I really have. I don't even respond to like nice comments because I really don't have time, number one. And I just found that it's easier, just all or nothing. But I got a message today. Somebody asked me, I said this on the last show, but somebody been on the show a few times, asked me to remove 2 of the shows they'd been on because of personal reasons, you know, like they were trying to erase it. And I just sat with it for a second. I said, no, I'm not going to do that. You know, it would go against, it'd be like it's trying to erase our Akashic, you know, or erase our traumas. Because we all know that everything we went through up to this point that was not easy is actually made us who we are.
Yeah.
But anyway, so then they complained to YouTube, and then I got a message from YouTube, which I don't like getting them because they threatened to kick me off a couple of times. And I wrote him. I wrote the person. Anyway, I said something to him, and I probably shouldn't have. But once I did it, and I was like, okay, you know, whatever. But I don't normally do that. But again, I fell into it, and there is a lot of judgment going on out there. And some of that judgment in the lightworker community is still from those who haven't gained their sovereignty from who they're channeling or what they're identifying with. Then there's some like Grace Solaris, who was just on earlier, who still pulls that stuff in, yet is very human. You know what I mean? Has made the transition, you know, and because let's face it, one thing we can all measure ourselves by is humility. And to me, I don't think it's going to look this way in the dictionary, but the opposite of humility to me is projection. Like the more I talk, the further I get away from, you know what I mean? And I've heard that so much in the last year and a half from my team, is just shut the F up and just keep going to work. Keep going to work, you know?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. It's, you know, it's the same with this like polarity and right and wrong, that it's like we have been trained all our lives to measure everything along that scale.
Yeah.
So even when like, okay, now I've finally found out what I'm going to believe in, what I think is happening in the world, and people get attached to it, and then they have to make everything else wrong in order to feel that they have the truth.
That's right.
But I can have my truth no matter what the next person to me thinks. And we might agree on a lot of things, and we might have different perspectives. It doesn't mean that one is wrong and one is right.
No.
It's perspectives.
Because that's right.
Multi-layered. It's like they normally show me this in like a spider web, but it's not only like one layer, it's another spider web on the top and one on the top, and then it's like all these connections between all the layers in all directions. So it's like it's like a
it's like a, you know what, that's interesting that you say that. It's like a spectrum, and the reason I said it's interesting because they showed me the earth like that, like this was 2 or 3 years ago. They showed me how there were, just like you described, there was these different layers of the earth itself, because it was showing me that they're all the earth. Like there's a flat earth, there's a hollow earth, there's a round earth, and they showed me in that same way. And it wasn't spider webs, but it I can see what you're talking about. Yeah, that's and see, the thing is I watched this program yesterday. I try to watch little parts of videos on YouTube to find people and to present new information, no matter what it is, right? And I can't remember who it was, but so they were saying that they wanted to talk about spirituality and conspiracy.
Yeah.
And it was from a guy doing it, and the people he was showing clips of were in the field of psychology. So it was really interesting because they were saying, like what you just said a minute ago, and like you get all this information and then you discern how things work and then you move forward, right? And that's basically what they were saying. And what they were saying is that in other words, which I agree, like truth is a moving target, in this place that we're at of expansion. Not ultimately, ultimately truth is love is, whatever that is, oneness, God, goddess, whatever. But as we're making this journey, and I've said this many, many times, you have your day, you find a higher truth, which is in that moment, the highest truth, right?
Yeah.
And then you wake up in the middle of the night, your team wakes you up at 3 o'clock in the morning, or you wake up the next day, and what was on the scale of 1 to 10 was a 10 yesterday is now a 1. And the truth has now taken on a different, and anyone that has done shadow work knows that, because you remove shadows and you think, oh, I cleared that and I cleared that and I cleared that. And then you get to a higher perspective. You get to a higher perspective, and then you're able to see things you couldn't see before.
Yeah.
So that's another way to kind of explain it. But yeah, I think that humility is a big deal. It really is. To me, that's where I go. That's where I've gone for, really since I woke up, since 2011, no matter what happens, whether you want to call it a circumstance or a consequence, it's the same damn thing. It doesn't matter. Yeah. What are you going to do, from here, exactly. How you got here the story doesn't matter.
Exactly. And that's, from the victim side and being attached to the stories. Like, I don't know how many times I've been telling my story, like when I've been going through things and, having friends like, you're kind of repeating the story again. I'm like, oh my God, until you get to the point where you can start to detach from it, and you're like, okay, I'm done with it now.
Yeah, that's a hard one. That's a hard, and that's why I'm not a practitioner, because, they had me doing some work, what people call session work, but I never pursued it. It would always happen. Now, this was years ago before I met Morgan, but I would know, you would know intuitively, or I had a lot of like children that passed would come to me to go contact their mom or whatever. That was mostly what happened. So I would always know. But my problem is I couldn't listen to the story. Like somebody wants to start telling the story, I can't do it. I'm like, and I didn't realize that, because it was almost like a not coming from compassion. You know what I mean? So then when I met Morgan, who'd been doing it for years, and I met her in the first, we would talk every day, and then I would say, I need to tell you some things that I've done. I've been pretty wild. And she's like, okay. Or then I would tell her, what happened to me. But I would get like 20 seconds into it. She'd say, do you want to clear this, or do you want to tell this? Do you want to talk about it?
Awesome.
And I would be like, yeah. So she taught me real quick. But then at the same time, it also helped me develop a greater compassion for how much impact it has on people, because they do want to talk about it, you know?
Yeah.
And I think there is something, like you said earlier, there is something about talking about it, not beating it till it's dead, but I mean, you know, there's something about that releases when you can talk about it in safety, you know, in a safe environment. Yeah.
Really important. And it's the same like when you start to awaken, for example, and you start to like having to confront, you know, traumas and patterns, and start, you know, doing some shadow work, and when you're like starting to like into it, and you see that, okay, I've been like, you had certain traumas, and you feel like a victim to it.
Yes,
and then you hear all these spiritual people talking about like, we're not victims and we're not victims, but there is like it's like the same as the truth. It depends on the frequency. There is a place for really seeing and feeling and being like having someone holding space and realizing that, okay, I was a victim of this.
Yes, that's right.
I actually was, and I can feel it, and then I can release it. Because if you bulldoze it and you bypass it,
I agree with that.
It will keep pulling you back.
But
then when you have released it, then don't get attached to it, then move on.
I really agree with that. I think that's another thing that's starting to show itself, because you got to remember, this is the apocalypse. The apocalypse is the Greek root is unveiling. Everything will be revealed. There is nobody, no stone will be unturned. But what you're talking about, I think, is very important, because it's part of for me, the part of the journey of humility. And that is that, you know, what, for instance, what works for you or me might get us to a certain point. And after that, it's no longer going to help us. So we have to detach. And so we get attached to, that's why when people say to me, you have to do this and you need to do that, I run. I'm like, no, I don't tell, I may do it, but I'm not going to go into anything saying, oh, I have to do this and need to do that. Because if I go into the, whatever it is, a process, a modality, a ritual, whatever, then I'm actually creating a false expectation that I'm going to be cured. You know, I think what you're saying is so important. And I just did this yesterday. When you allow yourself to feel, no matter what it is, you know, there's something very honorable to the human aspect there. And if you think about it, like with so many people that had traumas at a young age, you know, such as Morgan, you know, and many other people, they block it out. It goes away. It's you know, it's gone, but it's not. And that's why these things are coming back. You know, she used to tell me a long time ago, you know, they'll come back when your psyche is prepared, when you're prepared for it. But yeah, I have a friend, and her relative, who's got to be probably, you know, 65, just had memories come back of being molested by a family member. And yet that has come at a time when the support is there and so on. But they're doing that. They're going through it slowly. And I don't think you can over estimate the importance of feeling and not pushing through. It's almost like when you have a loved one that passes, and then people come to you and they're like, get over it, you know? It's so important to honor the human. And I've learned that from Morgan. You know, because it's so freeing. And that's something you can do yourself, really.
Yeah. And we have so many opportunities to distract ourselves, whether that is, you know, television, or if it's some sort of drugs, or if it's eating, or if it's going into higher realms and just not being grounded, and like, or just working all the time, or like, we have plenty of opportunities to like run away from things.
That's right. And
but really sitting with it and feeling it and grounding everything, because there is a reason why we are in the human body. So not like,
that's right,
escaping out there, but really grounding it in, and also going through our emotions and letting ourselves move forward and remember to detach from things, because it's like you said, when you like come around in the spiral, and what was true like maybe even yesterday is not where you're at anymore, because the frequency has shifted. Yeah,
it's like when you have a like I had like so many people, I had a out of body experience or near death or whatever you call it, and everyone will tell you the same thing. When you get up there, they're like, because I was like, wow, what is this place? And they're like, well, we're going to tell you this and tell you that, and this is going to happen. And I'm like, and they're like, you're going to go back. I'm like, I don't want to go back. Why would I want to go back? But it's the same thing with what you're talking about. You know, Morgan's talked about, you know, how when things occurred for her when she was a child and these things were happening, that she would disassociate, and that people will disassociate. And that's how she developed such a strong connection to be able, because I mean, she can go like that. You know, we lay down in bed and she's there, you know. It takes me a little while. And but to stay there is not healthy. It's no more healthy than, you know, a drug addiction here on the surface of the planet. You know what I mean? I mean, it's still, you're not facing and that's really what we're here to do ultimately, is this is what we signed up for, to the human experience. If you're angry, feel that anger. If you're sad, feel that sadness. To me, that's become, and this has been about 2 years for me, since the late 2018 when I finally figured it out. And, you know, and something would happen, and normally I'd say, Morgan would come in, what's going on? I'd say, well, here's what's happening. And you know, do you want to talk about it, or do you want to clear it? And I'd been saying, let's just clear it. But then I figured something out, because she had told me, but I didn't understand it. And that was sit with it. So then she would walk in and go, is something wrong? I'm upset. I'm angry. Do you want to clear it? No, I don't want to clear it. I'm going to sit here and feel it. I'm telling you, it changed. It was part of a big change for me. It really was. It was a huge thing, not to run, because it's going to come back.
It will, and the more you get used to sitting with it, normally the faster it will move through. It does. You can get like furious, like super angry, and you sit with it and just feeling that anger, and like 20 minutes later you're like,
happened to me yesterday. It happened to me yesterday. And it doesn't happen a lot, but it happened to me yesterday. And I jumped in the car and I drove about 3 miles, but I would bet you by the second mile, so, you know, 7-8 minutes, you know, I was on the car, and I was just said, you know what? I'm not going to worry about why I'm angry. I'm not going to worry about who made me angry, what made me angry, what I did wrong. I'm just going to feel this anger. Exactly. And I'm telling you, by 6-7 minutes, I pull up to a stop sign, and I was like, wow, this really works. And it does. Yeah. You know, it really does. Yeah. It does. Because when we're starting to like go too much into it, it's because we're attaching to it. Yeah. And I'm doing it sometimes myself. I'm not trying to say that I never do that at all, but it's, you know, about, again, being the observer and seeing when you're doing it and like pulling yourself back. Well, and I think too, like what you were saying earlier, in terms of what we're seeing out in the spiritual community, is that the things that were like absolutes, and they were at a lower awareness of truth, are no longer absolutes. And so these beautiful people that led the way for us, I see some of them struggling with not detaching from what got them to this point. And what's starting to happen is, like with all of us, it's starting to show up in our personal life. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? It's like you just can't stick to anything forever, because we are the truth expanding itself, and that requires change. And you know, I mean, it's, God, I think we've done a great job. All 8 billion of us. I think we're the darlings of the universe. And, I know I'm biased, but the human is the hero,
We are.
I fully believe it. And I've never felt bad. I've often sometimes doubted when I've looked up and I've told, the Archangel Michael and and whoever it is, hey, I'm the one down here doing the work. And I'm not going to be shy about how I feel, and I'm not going to be scared, and I'm not going to, feel small. I've never received anything bad from it, being that, whatever you call it, opinionated. But I think we're doing some, whatever we're doing for everybody. The whole universe. They're all learning. They're all gaining from this.
Yeah.
As we gain
and that's
from
what I think is so beautiful when, throughout the years that I've been kind of accepting myself, like this part of me, and like understanding that this is like my purpose and why I'm here. To also, I've always been so inspired by people who are really authentic and like really going different ways and doing things differently, and that are really shining from within, not because they're trying to perform or be something that others expect.
Yeah.
And of course, now I understand that has been a reflection of the part of me that I abandoned. And if anything, becoming more visible and more people talking about it, like the great job you're doing with bringing so many people on and expanding this and having all of these conversations, it helps people seeing that there's such a variety. It doesn't have to be like this or like this or like more this. It's like just go within and find your truth. We are all different. Normally they're showing me this like a huge puzzle. Yeah. And I say that everyone is one piece of the puzzle. And if you try to be another piece, it won't fit with any one of those around you, and there will be something wrong in that piece, because you are supposed to bring in what you have, and it's unique to you, and you have to dare to trust it and to be it, and that it's so much inspiration for others to really daring to look at their own truth. Yeah. Morgan, I've always, when I received Soulgy in the linear timeline, 2011, I didn't understand, how they give you stuff and you don't even know what the hell they're saying, but what I know what you mean. But you know what I mean? I look back at stuff I wrote back then and I'm like, wow, but I didn't get it then, but it kind of came true, whatever. But they used to tell me, think of it like this: Soulgy is a small mirror of the universal energy. So therefore you can't have restrictions. Everyone's accepted, and so I get what you're saying, and they would tell me that, Morgan came in later and she's like, it's like a buffet. It's like a buffet. It's like a smorgasbord. So I look at, I might do 5 shows. I go back and look at the how, I look at the numbers and I try to see what's happening. And I'll look at some shows and I'll be like, God, you would think there would have been 2,000 people watching this show. It was incredible. And then I'll look at another one that I didn't resonate with, and it's got 2,000, 3,000, 5,000. But it just goes to show you that you don't know who needs what you're giving. It's only going to be gotten to by a full-blown 100% collaboration with every single frequency, every piece of that puzzle coming back together, I mean, and I got to say this because for whatever reason, how when you're supposed to do something and your whole body just kind of goes like, so I was just looking at, I've noticed that we've been getting suppressed more than usual. And a couple of weeks ago, YouTube removed about 10% of our subscribers. And then I just saw my friend here, he put here that I think you're being shadow banned
You're not listed anymore in my subscriptions. I had to go straight to your page to find the show. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because I'm not a victim. We're not a victim. It's not about that. And I'm not about, the conspiracy or the cabal. It's not about that. What I am doing in the presence of my beloved sister here, who is part of the reason this is happening, is asking everybody to you're part of this. Everybody here is part of this, whether you're watching the live or the replay, and let's go into the heart and let's expand our field, not divorcing ourselves from anything that might be working against us or seeming like it is. We are working on a solution, and we have been for a long time, and it's been a long road, and we're getting close. And it takes resources, of course, but the only resource I'm asking for is a resource that's always been here, which is the energy and the good wishes and the power and the magic and the alchemy of everybody involved, because this is a small mirror. And bring your piece of the puzzle. If you want to be in front of the camera, so be it. If you want to write comments, so be it. If you want to just observe and not be known, that's fine. But this is the time. I can feel something happening. I can really feel something happening. And I just want to say to everybody, thank you for your love and support and contributions and your energy, because I'm not afraid. And I feel good about what's going on. And if you get a chance, come to YouTube and subscribe so we can counter all that. Not that it matters.
And it's so valuable what you're doing. It's amazing. And the variety of people you bring on, and like I told you in the message, like you're always so present and you have this beautiful flow in the conversations with so different people. Being both really grounded and open, confident and humble, that's a really good balance to have.
Well, I have a good teacher, and Sology's, because I'm in the front of the camera, but she's half of this, no matter what.
You're talking very beautiful about her.
Well, it's true. And, and I've told the story a couple of times, but we were shown in Hawaii that 60 years ago in that spot, which is a Lemurian, geography, but that we were in a monad of 24 60 years ago, right before I came into the world. And we made the decision, we made the choices, the contracts, whatever, the plan. And, but I think that's, again, a mirror of the universe. It's the feminine, the masculine, reaching equality, creating the third energy. And now we've got organically people stepping up without agenda, helping us. Leilani is doing the scheduling and other things. Morgan's business with the 0 Point In is about to explode. And there's a lot of other collaborations and things. I can feel them coming like this. Like this is the energy that we were told 2 years ago. This is a platform for the voices of the Mother Goddess, which is in all of us, that's been suppressed. Yeah. So it's an honor to be a part of this whole thing. I'm excited about everything. Yeah, I really am. And I really appreciate you reaching out to me, and I'd love to collaborate with you again.
I'd love to.
Later.
Really enjoy it.
So, and where do we find your videos? Where can we find your videos? What's the name of your YouTube channel?
It's Heart of Light.
Heart of Light. Let's just go over there and see. If you mind, if we pull it up?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, let's just pull it up. Heart of Light. Okay. And let's see if it comes up. Let's see. It's going to be hard to find it. Let's see if I could put your name. Maybe that'll help. Yeah, I got it. Okay, so let me go back here. And what I did, just so everybody knows, if you want to watch Kristin's videos, is I typed in, is that it? Yeah, Heart of Light. I typed in Heart of Light, and then I typed in her name, just her first name, and then it pulled it up. Okay. So she has a new subscriber here, and I would encourage all of you to come check out her videos. Current energies a week ago, timelines and shifting, how she receives messages, channeled message. Yeah, let's support each other. This is a year of collaboration and co-creation. Yeah, Heart of Light. Type in Heart of Light and space, then Kristin, and it'll come up.
Thank you. I would love to see more people there.
Yeah, well, they will be. And then as we continue to build this network and we start to unveil a greater capacity, we're going to be offering a place for people like yourself to put their stuff up free of charge. Yeah. So it'll, it's
sounds great.
Yeah. It's been a long time in the making, and it's probably still a ways out, but we'll get there. You got anything else?
That's the message I've been getting, that this it was the beginning of June. They said that now it's like 3 to 4 months where it's really about like coming in to ourselves, finding like deeper truths, really owning up to that, and become really clear of what we want and which direction we are going in, and now to start speaking our truth. And then in September, that there will be our August and September start being like collaborations and more people coming in together and new people coming in.
Yeah, same here. And that follows, Franco Di Nicola comes on a couple times a month. And I've always, we're connected, and very much so. And he talked about, since the end of last year, he'd say, this is what they're showing me. And in June, everything's going to change. And sure enough. And so every month there would be like a theme. They would tell them it's going to be this, it's going to be that. But what happened was let's see. So it would be, I think June, July. No, I'm sorry. I think July, August, and half of September. Something like that was integration. And I kept asking him, what does that mean? He said, well, it means a lot, but everything's going to be integrated and grounded and anchored and so on. So what you're saying makes sense. And that's also what I've heard from some other people. So I see it that way. I see us really making some strong progress in the fall. So it should be exciting. Do you have anything that you want to do? Do you want to, do a dance or sing or light language? Or I
don't think your subscribers would hear me sing, but I can do some light language if you want to.
If you'd like to, whatever resonates with you, whatever you'd like to do.
I can do that. So just like if people want to, like if you want to close your eyes, feel free to do so, and just like really open to receive the energy. If you keep your eyes open and you see that I suddenly will start shaking or something, because that might happen, it's nothing dangerous. Okay. It's just the energy, which is really intense. So no one gets worried about that.
I got you. That's a pure strand right there, man. I was about to say, well, is that from the higher heart into the throat? Because I could feel it, and then as soon as I said that, I felt a charge in my root come up, you know.
Yeah.
But it felt very pure, and I don't easily get activated. I don't know what that means, but yeah, that was very powerful. Yeah, beautiful, beloved sister.
Thank you.
Thank you for sticking it out. Thank you for showing up on this last leg of the journey. And this is what we came here for. Yes. And yeah, so hopefully one day we'll be in Eastern Europe, and we'll be in the Scandinavian area sooner or later, and we'll get down and party like the new Sufis, the new world. Yeah, that's where I come from.
That would be awesome.
I was right there with Rumi. So, you
awesome.
Hey, best to you and yours. All blessings to you and yours. And
thank you. Bye.
We'll do it again. Okay.
Yes.
You take care. Thank you for